She left the man she loved for 3 years, and was finally caught by him. The Dylan in front of her felt strange and frightening. The tenderness and gentlemanly demeanor were long gone. His eyes were filled with coldness and resentment. His actions towards her were no longer gentle. The man repeatedly asked why she left. She saw that Charlize did not respond. Alright, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I've already caught you. From now on, you must stay by my side. All the organization members are in my hands. Delian Cross, Wendy, and Golden Retriever. If you are willing, you could kill everyone and then escape. It all depends on whether you're willing to part with these precious friends. Liz, as the daughter of a duke, underwent a drastic change in temperament at the age of 13. The once cheerful and enthusiastic girl suddenly became indifferent. Her words and actions radiated an aura. She had completely transformed into another person. She dismissed all the servants who had bullied her. From then on, the servants dared not neglect her. She accidentally met her father. Liz also passed by with an expressionless, indifferent look. She asked him why he didn't greet them. He arrogantly said, "You are unworthy." Little did he know, Liz was no longer the same. In a past life, the emperor said he would forge him into a living sword. Liz thought he would be the most valued knight. He was born when his mother passed away. As a result, the family viewed him as a murderer. As he grew up, his talent in swordsmanship gradually became evident, far surpassing that of the knights. He hoped to gain his family's recognition. You will be forged into a magical sword to defend the empire. Liz gladly accepted the emperor's proposal. That means he didn't truly understand the meaning of this sentence. The fragments of Ishalites stripped from the monster. Liz is forced to consume these things every day, losing her physical form under the survival of the fittest experiment. She was forged into a magic sword. In the end, she was no longer the daughter of Duke Ronan, but the magic sword that guards the empire. Kyra is the sword's body. My consciousness remained clear. The emperor used Kayla to execute all the mages involved in the forging of the sword. He even used him to harm his own close relatives. The emperor's achievements with Kayla were praised by warriors, but Rhys was tormented daily by the guilt he carried. He prayed daily that God would grant him another life, a chance to punish the imperial family that had tormented him. I no longer want to be a cursed sword. Countless pleas finally brought a response from the deity. Let him be reborn. At 13, he quickly got up, but accidentally tripped and fell. That's right, this is the feeling of having a physical body. After enduring 400 years of torment, finally waiting for the miracle. At this moment, he seeks revenge, swearing to plunge the empire into an endless abyss. Looking at the girl in the mirror. After so long, I almost forgot what I used to look like. Who would have thought that not long ago, I was a sword set with sapphires? Summer has arrived. Before my rebirth, I hated summer the most. But now, everything is different. I asked the maid what year it was. The maid replied, year 298 of the empire. Liz radiated a powerful aura and oppressive presence. The maid didn't dare look at her directly. Miss, the Duke will be back soon. I know. Before, my family thought my mother's death was my fault, and I tried my best to please them. Now, I won't waste my emotions on them anymore, because I haven't done anything wrong, even though I've been reborn. The power of Ashalites still resides within me. I can sense it at any time. He can proudly say that I am strong. On his birthday, no one celebrated for him. As expected, he felt no disappointment. He wrote a letter applying for the royal teacher position, waiting for the right moment to send it. He came before his mother's portrait, and offered the last white flower. Tell mother that I have chosen a path to the endless abyss. Liz has already devised a plan for revenge. Before the rebirth, there was a genius who ruled the empire. Now, the 13th prince, Dylan. Her goal is to tame Dylan, to turn him into a tyrant. By then, the disaster of the empire will come. 2 years of preparation. Today is the day Liz departs for the palace. She used the influence of the Duke's household to become a Knight of Honor. She obtained the position of swordsmanship instructor. This is the first and last time she will accept help from her family. From now on, she will not blame anyone in her family. Next, she will focus on only one thing, revenge against the royal family. Arriving at the palace. Your Highness, I am your teacher. Dylan's gaze was somewhat vacant. Clarice knew that he appeared harmless on the surface, but he was a decisive person. His goal was to conquer Dylan, to train him into a tyrant. Does your Highness have any questions? Like why I became your teacher? But Dylan remained silent, just extending a hand to shake together. But in the moment their hands parted, he felt the woman brush against his palm, taming the boy before him, who lacked for women. He had to ensure he wasn't seen through. Then they sat down to drink tea. The servant served the tea, because he was stealing glances at Liz, unintentionally bought tea ceremony food. Liz noticed a subtle change in Dylan's expression. Dylan didn't say much, but the servant might still be warned. This is a butterfly. It rests on a woman's garland. This is also one of Liz's little tricks. She deliberately smeared honey on the garland. Dylan's interest is piqued. From now on, you will be my teacher. Earning his respect upon our first meeting is already the first step to success. The first lesson I give Dylan is swordsmanship. He's holding back, hiding his true strength. It shows he's wary of me. Liz has elven blood, so he can see elves. Elves feed on magic. And Liz has endless magic. He kindly entertained the hungry elves. Elves know how to repay kindness. Maybe they'll help me later. Looking at this familiar yet strange palace, sitting here, the heart-wrenching cries still echo in my ears. Thinking of the torment I've suffered for 400 years. The torture. Liz clenched her fists in anger. I must destroy everything here. Just as I was about to rest, I had barely closed my eyes. Liston felt something was off. There was an assassin, and Liz swung her hand. That person fell to the ground, unable to rise. Before dying, they couldn't believe it. They clearly said she was just a nominal knight in name only. Little did they know that while she practiced her swordsmanship, their ancestors were still drinking milk. On her first day in the palace, she was granted an imperial favor. It seems that the struggle between the heirs to the throne is quite intense. Like Dylan, Liz has also hidden her true strength. There's no other choice. I have to deal with the assassin using magic. This is clearly an inside job by the royal family. There are too many suspects. Dylan has never revealed his strength, so he lived until the end. Now Liz is his teacher. The 13th prince learning swordsmanship is no different from declaring his participation in the struggle for the throne. The assassin must have also targeted Dylan. Liz is still considering whether to help. A cry of anguish came from the quiet corridor. It seems he has already taken care of it, and he also took care of everything afterwards. In the week that followed, the two lived as usual. Neither mentioned what happened that night. Liz also inquired with the servants about Dylan's character. They all said he was a good person. He was quiet and upright, not greedy and quite naive. Tianzhen was fast asleep while he dealt with the assassins. Tianzhen was the one who was soundly sleeping that night, while practicing swordsmanship. Dylan still pretended to be useless. 5 minutes of sword practice, an hour of rest. He is clearly very strong, but insists on acting completely useless. That night, he probably guessed I was going through the same thing. I was afraid he'd ask, so I prepared my answers every day. But he never asked. It's certain. He had absolutely no interest in me. Sorry, teacher, I'm too tired. I'm a little short of breath. He acted quite convincingly like Liz. Before the rebirth, Dylan toyed with the royal family, seeking only profit amidst applause. Now, however, he has a kind, cheerful, and naive side. Liz is very curious about the reason, so she directly crouches in front of Dylan and asks, Your Highness, do you plan to live like this forever? I clearly felt his apprehension. He was sure he'd caught Dylan's attention. Over the past few days, the two had been observing each other. Liz clearly felt his gaze on her back. Dylan's lightsaber skills weren't enough. He also needed theory, but the books he needed to borrow were slow in coming. I'll have to get it myself. Seeing Liz enter, Robert quickly covered something with a red cloth. Liz knew that the book she wanted was under the red cloth, The Art of Kingship. Robert believed that ignorant and immoral people were unworthy of reading it. His paranoia and madness. Liz slapped him in the face with her abilities. He calmly recited from the book, but was interrupted by Robert. What good do you think it will do? Can you understand? Little did he know that Liz, as royalty, had a clear understanding of every emperor's interpretation of this book. Over the 400 years of emperors wearing the sword, Robert, who was slapped in the face, roared that he was a man who wouldn't live long. Even if I taught him this knowledge, it would be useless. Liz, who had been smiling, changed her demeanor upon hearing this. Her whole aura changed. Robert was intimidated by Liz's aura. I advise Earl Robert to watch his words. People who talk nonsense often end up dead. After saying this, Liz took the book she wanted and left. On theoretical clock time. Because it's the first day of learning. We'll take it easy. Dylan looks at the thick imperial studies. This is taking it easy. Liz knows. This is a piece of cake for Dylan. Dylan helplessly studies in silence. Taking advantage of this time, Liz secretly practiced magic. About the library, Dylan should know. Liz is getting ready. He can ask questions at any time. Advanced hunters often appear as their prey. His gaze began to change subtly. Teacher, I finished watching. Dylan took the initiative to start a conversation about the content of the book. Do you have any questions to ask? Teacher, you seem to have not mentioned your family. Dylan's question was unexpected for Liz. I didn't ask. I have no questions. Teacher, let's stop the class here today. You've worked hard. You've worked hard too. Dylan's gaze wavered. Once the fish is on the hook, Liz will never let go. Back in her room, she thought about Dylan's question. Family. Dylan was cold towards his father, only truly respecting his mother. Before her rebirth, Chi Fei was seen as a thorn in the side by the other concubines. She was afraid he had insulted the crown prince of the 7 concubines' motherland. It was the worst for Jie. At the funeral of the 7 concubines, only the 5th prince came. That is, he ascended to the throne. I originally thought it was a coincidence. Now it's discovered that it's not. All stemming from the 7 fairies. Dylan is the empire's hidden ruler. At that time, a multi-talented mysterious figure appeared. Painting, composing, writing. He even mastered the fields of commerce, medicine, and law. And this mysterious person was Dylan. He was only discovered after his death. People regret the passing of a genius. Because of this, the forgotten 7th consort also began to gain attention. Chi Fei's last words to Dylan were to take care of himself, to act low profile. Survival became Dylan's life creed. But what if at that time it was written that he must become emperor no matter what? Or if he couldn't obtain the empire, he would destroy it. What would happen then? Liz is a patient person, just waiting for the day his wife passes away. This autumn. The cause of death was poisoning. I've heard she suffered greatly while leaving. At that time, I must seize this opportunity to gain Dylan's favor. At this time, the young master and miss of the Ronin Duke's residence have not replied. Something's not right. My little sister used to be so clingy, but she wasn't well liked by the family. Shouldn't she be overjoyed and grateful to receive the letter? My brother was worried she would cling to him. Why is it different from what he imagined? Her sounds attracted her father. It seems like she's unhappy. I had to come up with some excuse to brush it off. While we were having dinner, I couldn't help but ask my father, have you received any news about the lychees? Before I could finish my sentence, I was ruthlessly interrupted by the man. He angrily scolded me for bringing up such an unappetizing topic. I was about to get up. He saw the lilies, a remembrance of his wife. He constantly reminisced about his deceased wife, but he couldn't bear to have his living daughter around. Whenever he saw her at the dinner table, he would turn and leave, refusing to eat with his daughter. Eventually, Liz stopped coming to the dining room. Now she has completely disappeared. Watching her father leave, her brother has lost his appetite. The servant's words linger in his mind. How has Liz changed so much? At this moment, Liz is carefully dressing up, because she is going to meet Dylan's mother. Dylan only mentions his mother when, only then can she smile like a child. To win over Dylan, the 7th Empress is an important key. Arriving at the palace of the 7th Empress, the luxurious decor shows Dylan's thoughtfulness. And the woman lying on the sickbed is frail, yet still possesses charm. She is the princess who married from the kingdom of Shane. She exudes an aura of elegance. Although it's their first meeting, just thinking about his impending death, and the suffering worse than death he will endure, makes Liz feel sad. The only thing that can save him is the western route grass. But this is something only the Emperor possesses. Liz suddenly remembered that before her rebirth, the Emperor would hold a martial arts tournament every year. The champion could make a wish to the Emperor. Even a request to move a castle could be granted. Liz decided to participate in the competition. She would win the championship and then ask the Emperor for the west route grass. Dylan is a grateful person. Just then, the 7th princess noticed Liz. Although Liz was nervous, she still gracefully bowed. The 7th princess is a very nice person. She has always been grateful to Liz for her guidance to Dylan. Although she is a princess, she speaks gently and is humble. She truly is a good mother who values teaching and respect. The warmth of the concubine has always reached Lychee's heart. Seeing that autumn is approaching, Lychee's mood begins to grow heavy. After returning home, Lychee had a nightmare. In a past life, as a cursed magic sword, no one could understand what the Empire had done to him. The belief in revenge has supported him to this point. It wasn't his fault. He is the one being blamed. Only when he wakes up, does he realize he has been crying. He feels sorrow for being blinded by revenge. He can't help but have nightmares. At least when awake, he must remain calm. Now, Liz has a new worry. How will she hide her identity to participate in the competition? Disguising as a man to avoid attention. Tying it up won't help. I was just thinking of cutting my hair off. At that moment, a little sprite peeked out. Liz smiled and asked if they were hungry. They gathered around. Liz, we can help you. In the next moment, the sprite cast a spell. It turned Liz into a handsome guy with brown hair and black eyes. His voice was magnetic. His hands also became a... Liz didn't expect the elves to help at this moment. He smiled and thanked them for their great help. Before his rebirth, Liz had never participated in a swordsmanship competition. Compared to his daughter's excellence, the Duke hoped even more for his sons to achieve success. So Liz could only watch from a distance. The swordsmanship tournament. There are tens of thousands of participants. The preliminaries officially begin. At this level of competition, it's just a small test of skill. He intentionally hides his strength and slows down the pace. He advances through the rounds, ranking 85th. On the day of the qualifiers, it was discovered that Prince 9 didn't show up. Liz was not surprised. Only one person could do that. That is Dylan, who won't give his things to others. Once he gets something, he never lets go. After the duel with Prince 9's guard, Prince 9 started to have shadows over arrows. Could Dylan have done this to him? Her thoughts were pulled back by the announcer's introduction. Liz froze. Because her opponent was her own older brother. He was still the Roman family's only competitor. It's sad to say, but her father thought he was a girl. No matter how skilled he is with a sword, I don't care. He's more talented than both his older brothers. Yet he can only hide in his room and envy them. But now he can easily defeat his brothers. He sees through their moves at a glance. Their attacks are stiff and rigid. If the competition didn't forbid killing, Arkin would already be dead under his sword. Looking at his pierced armor, the man fell into fear. He had already given his all, yet he hadn't harmed his opponent in the slightest. As he wrestled with why he was in such a difficult battle, the referee announced the end of the match. Due to the lack of a decisive victory, both advanced to the next round. But for Aiken, who was invincible among the nobles, he has already fallen from grace. At the lively celebration of the night, Liz was hiding on the side, leisurely sipping her tea. Unexpectedly, she looked up and saw Dylan. How could he be here? Just then, the man's gaze turned toward her. He won't recognize himself, right? However, Dylan just took a distant glance, and then disappeared into the crowd. Liz also took the opportunity to leave. The semifinals the next day, Yakin suffered a crushing defeat as soon as he appeared. Kaf saw this situation, and Zaid angrily left the venue midway. In the end, Liz faced the person who defeated her brother. CAF recalled her previous life. After he went missing, his family abandoned him. Only this nominal fiancé searched for him for 5 years. Although he didn't understand why he was looking for her, she still didn't want to hurt him. But the championship must be hers. Without a doubt, he became the winner of this match. Everyone on site was filled with excitement. A person without any identity actually defeated all the nobles. The emperor stood on the stage. He asked Liz what she wanted. A beautiful woman, a prestigious title, or a golden token granting immunity from death. Unexpectedly, the boy used a voice only he could hear to ask for what he wanted. The emperor of Shilugras never imagined his request would be so simple. He even offered to let Lizzie be his exclusive knight. This is an opportunity many people long for but cannot obtain. But Lizzie refused. He just wanted to live a peaceful life. The emperor thought that if he couldn't have it, he should destroy it. Yet Lychee was not afraid of the emperor coming after her again, because she had regained her female form. No one could find her. The urgent cries at night echoed through the palace. It was the news of the 7th princess's worsening condition. Dylan's hurried footsteps faded away. Meanwhile, Lychee was waiting for the best moment to use the herb. Dylan needs to see his mother's pain. It only makes sense when he takes it out. Just when all the doctors were mobilized but couldn't find a way to relieve the pain, Dylan felt like he was about to break down. Liz appeared. She brought the calming herb. He held the calming herb. He understood that he participated in a swordsmanship competition to obtain this. But why go to such lengths to get close to him? And why give him the calming herb? To wait for the woman's response. News came that the 7th princess's condition had worsened. After taking the calming herb, Shi Fei finally felt less pain. She was utterly exhausted, and asked where the calming herb came from. Dylan honestly told her that Liz entrusted their son to him. With one last glance. In an instant, Liz felt a heavy heart, as if something was stuck in her throat. Before her rebirth, when Dylan was desperately searching for the Shilu grass, the 7 consorts passed away. She did not alleviate her mother's suffering. There was no farewell for her. The guilt tormented Dylan for a lifetime. In the end, the 7th princess left without regrets. There were only 2 figures in the mourning hall. The mourners were pitifully few. Apart from the 5th prince, no one attended. Lizzie seemed to understand the feelings Dylan had in supporting the 5th prince to ascend. It felt a bit stuffy in the room. Liz ran outside to get some fresh air. At that moment, it started pouring rain. Oh well, getting a little wet is no big deal. As she was walking, she bumped into Dylan. She saw Dylan holding the letter from the 7th princess. He handed it to her, and she hesitated to open it. She was surprised that the content of the letter was different from her previous life. Do what you want to do, no matter what. Live freely. Mother said this is written for the 2 of us. I still haven't thought of what I want to do. What about you, teacher? Liz feels like her heart is about to jump out. He has finally waited for this day. He knelt on one knee. Please become the king. Please allow me to be the first knight to lead the empire. It's still pouring rain at this moment. Yet it feels eerily quiet. Now the monarch should place their hand on the knight's head to swear. But Dylan doesn't want to treat his teacher that way. The man suddenly kneels on one knee. He takes his hand. Then, please be mine. You're the only one I have now. Liz looked at his face, unsure if it was rainwater or tears. Dylan was now like a blank canvas, waiting for Liz to paint him. The dark funeral ended. Only Liz and Dylan remained in the hall. Teacher, what do you want? Dylan gives Liz the choice of fate. It's time to paint this blank page a dark color. I hope you rule the empire, and destroy it again. Trample it underfoot. Let it be reduced to ashes. Faced with this immoral request, Dylan's answer is, as you wish. Afterward, in order to hide their strength, the 2 chose to teach a lesson in the deep mountains. Looking at the teacher resting and sleeping against a tree, Dylan's mind was filled with thoughts. He was afraid the teacher would worry. He pretended he had already moved on from the pain of losing his mother. He had long since taken off the black clothes, but the teacher still wore them. The gentle breeze blows. As he looks at the sleeping woman, Dylan thinks to himself that he really wants to grow up quickly. No matter what wishes the teacher has, he will make them come true. After 4 years of hiding his talents, Dylan successfully ascends to the position of crown prince. Liz becomes the grand tutor as the crown prince's teacher. The status and identity are completely different now. Ironically, everyone rushes to flatter Duke Ronan, praising him for raising such a wonderful daughter, and even asking for his educational secrets. Every word that falls on a man's ears undoubtedly feels like a slap in the face. His least loved and neglected daughter is now more capable than his sons. Lizzie watched the commotion from afar, unable to bear it any longer. She slipped away to be alone. She had barely sat down when her so-called family came looking for her. Her terrible father questioned her about what trick she had used. He's actually connected to the crown prince. Liz said he had nothing to do with it. Father was furious. He told him to keep a low profile. Don't disgrace the Ronan family. He even said he wished he could cut ties with the Ronan family. Does he think Liz is still that little girl they could manipulate? He smiled faintly. She said if you could make me famous outside the Ronin family, I would be extremely grateful. The three big men were instantly at a loss for words. Jia thought Liz wanted to join another family, and believed it would be difficult for him to leave the Ronin family. But Liz said, she had never enjoyed any special treatment from the Ronin family. It should be much better elsewhere than in the Ronin family, since it's beneficial to both sides. Let's proceed with my departure as soon as possible. Until Liz left, the three grown men hadn't come to their senses. When Dylan found Liz, she was writing a leave of absence application. Dylan just glanced at it, without saying much. The teacher is so beautiful today. His attention was completely on her. He unconsciously reached out and gently touched her lips. Their relationship took a subtle turn. This feeling of being out of control made Liz inexplicably nervous. That night, the two celebrated in the bedroom. Liz granted Dylan 3 wishes. Whatever it is, it will be satisfied. The first wish, teacher. If I am rude to you in the future, please forgive me. Liz thinks, how could someone as gentlemanly as Dylan be treated rudely? No problem. Dylan's second wish is to give his night group a name. Those were beggars Liz bought off the streets and took in. She trained them to be her informants. Because they were Liz's people, Dylan valued them highly. He named them Shadows. No one could have imagined that this casually chosen name would one day become renowned throughout the entire continent. What about the third wish? You haven't finished yet. The man's face flushed first. He wanted to hear her sing. Liz thought Dylan was acting strangely today, but she still fulfilled the man's wish first. A heavenly voice rang out. A new story began. The Duke Ronin's mansion. The terrible father couldn't believe it. Liz really brought Chuanji's application for secretary. There's even a royal seal. The matter is no longer up to them to decide. He has always wanted the love of his family. The useless second brother realizes he was too cold to his sister before. Now he should comfort her wounded heart. The useless older brother looks down. He claims he can persuade his sister himself. Jia Urge recalled his childhood. When he told his mother that he wanted a sister very much, he would definitely protect her well if he had a sister. Now he feels extremely guilty. Jia Dage arrived at the palace, and was told that the grand tutor was teaching and could not be disturbed. However, the man forced his way in. He wanted to see just how capable this sister could be. The Pope's wife. Take another look at the teaching process. Brother Jia was shocked. To be able to demonstrate such a high level just from practice. An astonishing talent and extreme strength. The thoughts before the seizure were completely wrong. Doing too much is a waste of talent. Clearly, one could shine even brighter. But his family broke his wings. When Li Qi looked back, Jia Ge had already left. Jia Ergo saw the man returning dejectedly and asked what happened. The man recalled the champion of the swordsmanship competition 4 years ago. Maybe Li Qi could also sit on that glorious throne. What had he and his father done all these years? Liz realized she had been in contact with Dylan too frequently lately. I should keep my distance from now on. I need to find a princess. The Duke of Har's daughter would be the best choice. At their first meeting, Mia seemed hostile towards him. She even gave him snapdragons, subtly suggesting that his time serving the prince was over. Don't be greedy. Hurry and leave. His ambitious nature is exactly what Liz needs. Since you, miss, also differ from the crown prince, I can help you take that position. Liz held Mia's information. She found Di Ru just as she was introducing Mia's details. The other party staggered. It was as if they had suffered a tremendous blow. He asked again and again, do you really want me to marry another woman? After receiving Liz's affirmative answer, the man's face was terribly grim. Unexpectedly, the next morning, Mia blocked him at the door, crying and saying she already had someone she loved, and had given her body and soul to him, so she was no longer qualified to be the crown princess. She begged to be let go, but yesterday's ambitious man was completely different. Liz said he wouldn't force the issue. He thought he'd misjudged him. He suspected Dylan had done something, but he felt it wasn't worth breaking their trust over such a small matter. When he met Dylan in the afternoon, he apologized for his earlier suspicions. But Dylan brought up something else. He wanted Liz to swear an oath afterwards. No matter what he did, I will stay by his side. Liz didn't understand what she was doing, until the man took her hand. In return, as a gift, I will stage a rebellion and seize power this winter. I swear I will offer the world to you. An oath for an oath. Destruction or dominion. It all depends on Liz's will alone. That night, Dylan awoke from a dream. She dreamt of her inappropriate desires for her teacher. So ethereal yet real. If only it were true. How wonderful it would be. She desperately wanted to completely possess that woman, even if cursed and scorned by future generations, enduring all the curses and complaints. As long as Liz is there, Dylan is willing to be a complete tyrant. After the girl is reborn, she finally breaks free from her family. It is only then that she realizes her debt to her sister. When she witnesses her sister's true strength, even he, as foolish as a pig, sees her talent. He confessed that he and his father had done too many wrong things over the years. His second older brother dreamt of reading storybooks to his younger sister when they were children. He and his sister did get along well for a while. At that time, his sister was very dependent on him. Suddenly one day, he refused to let his sister get close to him. Even when he saw her fall, and her knees were red and swollen, he ignored her. He just looked towards his older brother and father in the distance. He was too scared, because his sister would also be isolated by the family. His sister thought she had done something wrong, but when she apologized, she was coldly pushed away by her brother. Only upon waking from the dream did he regret everything he did to his sister. But belated affection is worth less than grass. His sister was already gone. The Ronin family is going to hold a family meeting. Jia believes Jia is the eldest son. He should set an example for his younger siblings, since he hasn't reported back. Can we assume that Liz's matter has been resolved? Can the book application be considered void as well? But Jia asked his father if he has cared about his sister over the years. Even just a little. You should let go of the fact that your mother has passed away. Treat Liz well. This statement completely tore away the shame of the scumbag father. He angrily slapped the scumbag son. He scolded him for not being qualified to say these things, because what he did wasn't much better than himself. Yes, if the father is the murderer, then they are accomplices. It's no use saying anything more now. I still want to win my sister back. The Crown Prince's enthronement commemorative ball is in a few days. It's also my sister's birthday. The two brothers are discussing birthday gifts. Rare treasures are too easy to buy. It lacks sincerity. Girls like paintings. Then send the black rose. Guishu knows nothing. Their self-righteous behavior almost got the brother killed. On the day of the ball, Liz and Dylan attended in formal attire. Everyone was admiring the beauty of the Empress. She was the center of attention as soon as she appeared. A servant informed the Emperor that he was looking for Dylan. Dylan only left after seeking his consent. Liz felt that Dylan seemed to be avoiding her lately. He gets startled if she touches him slightly. He hardly chats with her either. Just as she was thinking about this, Kaho invited Liz. I wonder if I have the honor. Please dance a dance with me. As understood. He couldn't refuse. The first one to invite him to dance. During the dance, they became the focus of the dance floor. Everyone was discussing how well suited they were. Many cast admiring glances their way, but Calix felt uneasy. A distant gaze sent shivers down his spine. Hastily finished the duet with Kahul. Just breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, someone wrapped their arms around my waist. Liz, I need to talk to you. He was astonished that Dylan actually called him by name. The noisy crowd was buzzing, but Dylan took him out to the balcony. He just wanted to apologize to him. He touched the teacher without permission. He also addressed him by his first name. This was Dylan's first time doing this. It surprised Liz a little. She said he was the future head of state, so he could call him by his name anytime. But Dylan said he always respected his teacher, and wouldn't dare treat him casually. Liz saw his respectful attitude, and smiled as she forgave him. Dylan was almost blinded by jealousy and possessiveness. This feeling was unfamiliar to him. He hurriedly left, saying to get some rest. Little did he know that the woman he liked was about to face danger. Liz looked at the night sky, and sighed that the moonlight was truly beautiful. Thinking about my life as Kira for 400 years. As a person who can speak and move, the time I've lived is short. I must always remember the purpose of my arrival at the royal court. I was just walking back, when an unpleasant voice came from behind me. Lychee, do you know your birthday is approaching? His birthday is the same day as Mother's death anniversary. Are you accusing me of murder? I've cut ties with you. To say this again is to slander the Grand Tutor. The two brothers anxiously explained it was a misunderstanding. They were just celebrating his birthday. They even brought gifts. Liz still remained cold. The nervous brother forcefully pressed the black rose into Liz's arms. Afterwards, he still had a self-satisfied look on his face. But then Liz, with blood coming from her mouth, asked, do you want to kill me? The two scummy brothers didn't know what happened. Liz considered whether to use magic to force out the poison. He didn't want to fall down in front of people he didn't trust. Liz was speechless towards these two scummy brothers. As a child, she had fallen down after accidentally touching the black rose. For her, the black rose was deadly enough. When Liz saw Dylan rushing over anxiously, she finally felt relieved and collapsed. Because only Dylan could be trusted. Everyone else was in an uproar. Dylan guessed that the teacher had an allergic reaction. Magic backlash. It can be fatal in severe cases. The two Jha brothers still wanted to explain, but he was stopped by Dylan's gaze. He must save the teacher now. He can't expose the teacher's weaknesses to too many people. Just say the teacher is overly fatigued, physically exhausted. Just take him back to rest. Put the teacher in his own chamber. The only way to save his teacher now is to merge another person's magic with his. No matter how painful the process is, it must be done meticulously and cautiously. We cannot hurt him. He refuses others to get close. He chooses me to protect him. Teacher, this is entrusting one's life to oneself. And the two Jha only found out after returning from a servant who once cared for Liz that the Black Rose is extremely dangerous for him. And Liz is also practicing swordsmanship. Magic and the Black Rose are completely opposed. Jha blames the servant for not speaking up earlier. The reason for not speaking is that the Duke's father forbade it. When Liz had that allergy as a child, he instructed the servants not to mention it to anyone. Only the servant who took care of him felt pity for him. It's just that the person who caused his mother's death has no right to call him. The unconscious Liz dreams again of the time she was made into a sword. Time and again, he asked why it had to be him. The Emperor's answer was that only he was the most suitable candidate. Just accept the fact that you are to become the demon sword Kyra. Once, those elderly commoners were experimented on. When that failed, they turned to experimenting on minors. Do you remember when the Empire was in an uproar? So many noble people went missing. Until one day, they saw the young lady of the Roman family. His talent is exactly what he needed. It proved that. The choice was right. Liz became the only successful subject. The Emperor used Kayla to end one life after another. For 400 years, he has been enveloped by this deep sense of guilt. A gentle voice shattered the darkness. Liz finally woke up. Listening to the chirping of birds outside the window, he felt much more comfortable. Looking at the young man beside him, he realized the gentle whispers in his ear weren't a hallucination. See, the teacher's awake. Dylan kept asking if he was still uncomfortable anywhere. He had been unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights. Dylan had taken care of him personally the whole time. Trusting him was indeed right. To repay him, Lizzie prepared a grand gift for him. He asked Dylan for a half-month leave, to go to the 11 Mountains. This is the teacher's second leave of absence. I remember the first time he took leave, he sought out the West Road grass. What is he after this time, going to the 11 Mountains? No matter what, he still unconditionally agreed to Liz's request. Soon, Liz arrived at her destination. Because Dylan didn't marry the crown princess, he lacked the support of powerful relatives. Therefore, to start a rebellion, he definitely needed the Duke of Caning's support. The Duke of Caning personally came out to greet him. I don't understand the crown. What does the boss's right-hand man want? He came all this way. What's his game? And he even took initiative to play a few games. Whether it was roulette or poker, Kane lost badly in every game. Charlie smiled, saying she's always been lucky. But only the strategist beside her realized that the woman before them possessed astonishing wisdom. Kainin, however, did not believe she was here for amusement. Please, let's get to the point. It is rumored that Duke Kainin is looking for a family heirloom. But there are many monsters in the mountains. Ordinary people can't get in at all. I want to make a bet with you. I will help you find the heirloom. But as a price, the loser must serve the winner unconditionally and permanently. Looking at the fragile woman, Duke Kainin advised her not to take the risk. The entire force was once a curse that tens of thousands could not overcome. He resolved all impossibilities by himself. Liz, however, said that all he needed was half a month. Kainin stood by the window, watching Liz depart, thinking he was undoubtedly going to his death. When everyone believed he surely wouldn't return, Liz, however, cut down enemies all the way, clearing a path through thorns. Because for him, dealing with these monsters was simply a piece of cake. But even the deadliest monsters are easily dealt with. He finally found the family heirloom, Duke Caning. The house sparrow of the Duke's residence was calling out in a panic. Ty is back. The morning sunlight shone on Liz, making her look so radiant. Duke Caning, do you remember the wager? You must keep your promise. Due to the prince's absence, Lord David will accept the oath. Duke Caning leads all the knights to kneel on one knee before Liz and swear. He will follow the prince without hesitation. At your command. The oath-taking ceremony ends. Liz just wanted to hurry back to the palace, to hand over this declaration to Dylan, as a way to repay his trust in her. At this moment, she really wanted to see him quickly, but she didn't expect that the man had prepared a surprise for her as well. A magnificent palace. Dylan held a ribbon in his hand, when he suddenly heard the voice he had been longing for was calling him. He quickly turned around. He saw Lizzie had returned. Her gaze was gentle as water. She had intended to throw him a surprise party tomorrow. He was truly happy to be back a day early. Lizzie stood frozen in place. His birthday was also the anniversary of his mother's passing. That day felt like a curse to him. Dylan helped him to sit down to the side. He took off his shoes. He wanted to wash away his fatigue of these days with warm footbath water. He even rolled up his sleeves to personally massage his feet. All the words condensed into one sentence. Teacher, thank you for coming to this world. Thank you for reaching out to me. After the party at night, Liz was very grateful for the gift from Dylan. She liked it very much. It won't be long before they can revolt. She wants to kill the Emperor herself. Only then did Dylan realize that Liz had never referred to the Emperor as Your Majesty. What secret does the teacher hold? He doesn't want to investigate. Even if he knows, what does it matter? He is willing to do everything for his teacher. The day before the uprising happens to be Chi Fei's death anniversary. Liz recalls Chi Fei's last words. To entrust Dylan to him. The uprising is about to come. Cannot be influenced by anyone. Feelings are too extravagant for him. He cannot forget the 400 years of hatred and anger. Dylan is about to transform from a pure youth into a usurping tyrant. At night, they formulate their battle plan. The first target is the royal family. The secret library can provide ample justification for this uprising. If the uprising fails, there is only one way to die. For the teacher's wish, he can charge ahead without hesitation. The great battle is about to begin. Dylan, masked, charges into the palace like a knight. After taking down the royal personnel, he heads straight for the secret library as planned. Meanwhile, Liz is outside bringing Duke Kaming's army to support Dylan. This time he wants to leave no one alive in the Imperial City. In the underground library, Dylan was flipping through the records of royal crimes. It documented various illegal activities. This royal family should have collapsed long ago. On another shelf in the library, there was a blue book with a sword design. Dylan found information about the live experiment plan. In order to experiment, they kidnapped those minors. There are even unborn children on the list. To create a sword with self-awareness, isolate. Dylan recalled what the teacher taught in class. As long as you swallow the isolate fragments, you will slowly turn into a monster. Although there has only been one successful case, he remembered the teacher's subtle expression in class. Dylan couldn't imagine. When he was flipping through the list of supplementary experiments, the name of the eldest daughter of the Ronin family suddenly appeared. Dylan fully understood why the teacher had such a strong discontent towards the royal family. A calm night. A pigeon flew in with a message to the Duke of Ronin's residence. The letter stated a state of emergency. The situation is urgent. Zagu hurriedly told his father that the crown prince was flying. The Duke immediately thought of Liz. He panicked, as the crown princes. If the Grand Tutor's rebellion failed, his daughter would be doomed. A report arrived from Liz's army. The Ronin family's forces are closing in. Liz ordered the knights to bring their bows and arrows. No one should think they can stop this. He was just about to shoot. Seeing that the army was armed, could it be that they are joining the rebellion? The Duke led the shout that the Ronin family is willing to assist the Chancellor. But Liz doesn't need any of that. The Emperor, to save himself, released 1,000 monsters. Little did he know, these were child's play for Liz. He intended to deal with them alone. His father anxiously objected. Isn't that just going to your death? Liz then leaped off her warhorse. With a casual sword strike, she smashed the monsters. Like a battle goddess. I swore to the warriors that retreat was not an option in my plan. I will handle the monsters. You all go block the Emperor's reinforcements. This is a military order. Everyone, execute immediately. Knights. Their fighting spirit was instantly ignited. Dylan had just left the library. When he was surrounded by the Emperor's knights, Dylan prepared for a massacre. After easily dispatching the knights, the scene was engulfed in flames. Dylan ordered the knights to guard the library. Liz also finished her battle. As signals of victory arrived from all directions, he stands at a high place, feeling unprecedented excitement. This day has finally come. He has waited too long for this moment. These past few years of cautious advancement. Everything has become real. At this moment, he remembers his anger. He remembers the still pure and untamed Dylan. The wind messed up his hair. He told himself, Dylan is just his wife. He mustn't be soft-hearted. At this moment, he was like an angel of death in the night. Wickedly unreal. Now he just waits for Dylan to bring the Emperor here. Then he can take revenge with his own hands. But several hours passed, and he still hadn't received any news. Liz's face fell. He leaped onto his horse and galloped towards the palace. Outside the vast hall, there were only the bodies of nobles scattered everywhere. He felt a strong sense of unease. Could Dylan have already killed the Emperor? He wouldn't allow years of his efforts to be wasted. Dylan blocked the Emperor on the back mountain. He now knows the teacher's true intention towards him. It's simply to take revenge on the Emperor in person. If the teacher really gets his way, his existence will be meaningless. Even if the teacher resents him, it doesn't matter. He wants to personally take down the Emperor. Just as he was about to swing his sword and act, he suddenly stopped. Rather than killing him directly, he thought of a more interesting way. When Liz reached the palace, she thought Dylan had killed the Emperor. He had said he would do it himself. But Dylan said the Emperor was still alive. Liz asked him what exactly he had done to the Emperor. Just like the Emperor once did to Liz. Send him to hell. Make him consume the ashlight shard. Regardless, he won't die. The teacher can dispose of him however he pleases. Torture him if you wish. You could also forge him into a sword. To suffer eternal torment. Teacher, this is the most perfect gift I could give you. Shouldn't you praise me? Liz has always wanted to take legitimate revenge on the Emperor. After all, turning a person into an arrow is truly despicable behavior beyond human limits. Dylan has completely lost control. Liz couldn't help but feel fear towards Dylan. He really wants to escape. Think calmly. Dylan perfectly destroyed the royal. Isn't this the result he has always wanted? Liz gently strokes Dylan's face, praising him for doing very well. Dylan successfully revolted. The situation was quickly brought under control, but Colis wasn't as happy as she'd imagined. Things had become beyond her control, having just surfaced. Liz saw the sprites appear by the pool. She asked the sprites, if she were to escape, would they help her? The sprites were seen circling in the air. Kind person, we will always stand by your side. We will help you until the maid reports that Kahu wishes to see you. This is the first person to congratulate him on becoming the imperial teacher. Kahu can keenly sense the passage of time. Liz suspects that he might have also traveled back in time. After a few pleasantries, Kahu took his leave. Actually, Liz should have celebrated with Dylan yesterday, but she didn't go. She feels a bit guilty about it. So she decided to dress up nicely, because this is their first dinner together with their new identities. But actually, Dylan knows some of Liz's updates. The Black Knight reported that the Emperor met with Kahu to talk. It's that Kahu again. I'd heard he almost got engaged to his teacher. Dylan clearly felt a sense of crisis. While waiting for Liz to arrive, Dylan couldn't understand why he was suddenly so nervous. As footsteps drew closer, Liz appeared, like the son of the Empire. Her purity made her even more beautiful. The man couldn't help but blush. Just drinking can be a bit boring. Liz suggests playing a game of truth or dare. If the person being asked can't answer, they lose. The loser has to grant the winner a wish. Dylan asks Ashley first. What is the fragment? Liz didn't expect Dylan to ask that. It made her feel a bit suffocated. However, Liz answered his question. He is the source of the mushrooms. It is the corpse infected by the evil god. When Liz asked how His Majesty viewed those who consumed the fragments, Dylan believed they were of no value. He asked Liz if she was hiding anything. Liz replied no. After all, time flows backward. Who would have thought? Your Majesty, do you have someone you love? The man didn't deny it. He's loved that person for a long time. As far as Liz knew, the only woman who had been around Dylan for a long time was herself. This probing only made him more confused. What about the teacher? Do you have it? Liz heard this question. What he thought of was actually Kahu. It was clear that it wasn't love. He couldn't forget. During the days he was missing, only Kahu had looked for him. He was very grateful. He also wanted to protect this sincere feeling. Liz firmly replied no. Then asked the final question. Can I know who the person you love is, Your Majesty? Dylan panicked. His intuition told him that once the teacher knew his feelings, he would be abandoned. So Dylan chose to concede, unaware that even if he pretended to be calm, it cannot hide the tension inside. Deeza's suspicions have been confirmed. It seems a new plan needs to be made. Meanwhile, Red Hair receives an assassination mission. The other side offers 3 times the price for Deeza's life. Red Hair decisively refuses the job. That's a woman who can take on 1,000 mushrooms barehanded. Killing him is equivalent to seeking death. In fact, the red-haired one once attempted to assassinate Liz, the Grand Master. He was taken down instantly. He knows too well the power of that woman. He even started to admire Liz. He warned the other members. It's not just the Empire Master. From now on, the Ronin family will avoid her completely. Although Liz has already moved out, there's still a blood relation. What if the Ronin family seeks revenge? Just thinking about it is terrifying. Moreover, he doesn't want to be hated by Liz. In the morning, Liz wakes up and recalls what happened yesterday. She was certain Dylan loved her. Now she had to adjust her plan according to Dylan's changing feelings. Preparations for moving to the Emperor's palace were complete. In principle, the teacher and student should live in the same palace. But Liz hadn't expected that Dylan would actually give him the lilac ornament. This was supposedly the safest place in the palace, equivalent to the human heart. This was originally the Emperor's room. This left Liz feeling disoriented. It was almost time for swordsmanship class, but Liz planned to change her approach to the lesson. She would coat her swords in deadly poison. She would have a life-or-death sparring match with Dylan. But the man understood. This was Liz's test of him. If she doesn't love her, she will do everything she can. But she can't do it, injuring the teacher. She is a lying goddess. Liz's sword is already pressed against her throat. Your Majesty, please focus. The outcome is already very clear. Liz smiled and said let's take a break before class. But once turned around, that expression instantly became extremely serious. At the court meeting the next day, regarding the remnants of the planning to regroup, they are colluding with the underworld. This news made Liz feel that perhaps she could gain happiness regarding Kyra. She raised her hand voluntarily. Let me handle this matter. Everyone only knows that Liz is His Majesty's teacher, but they don't know his true strength. I was about to retort, but Liz's single glance silenced me. I immediately dared not speak. This matter is quite dangerous, and we need to send someone to help. Kahu stood up and indicated that he would help the Imperial tutor. Dylan trusts the teacher's decision, and hopes that Kahu can assist well. After entering the gang's territory, it was filled with eeriness everywhere. From time to time, various monsters appeared to obstruct them, but they were easily dealt with by Liz. After witnessing her strength, Kahu couldn't help but feel shocked. In her memories, Liz was just a noble young lady who longed for family love. But now she's terrifyingly strong. Just what kind of person is she? After fighting for half a day, Kahu invited Liz to his home to rest. She wanted to observe Kahu up close to see if he was also a time traveler like herself. Liz accepted his invitation. After arriving at Kahu's home, Liz immediately wrote a letter and sent it by carrier pigeon to inform His Majesty. To improve work efficiency, he stayed overnight at Kahu's house. After the pigeon delivered the message, he noticed that someone's expression was not good. Is the teacher testing him? Or is it true that he has feelings for Kahu? Dylan can no longer remain calm. He was like a madman, wanting to monopolize the teacher. Soon, the 3-day siege ended successfully. Liz had just returned to the palace, when Dylan couldn't wait to find him. Seeing the teacher wearing clothes he'd never seen before, he guessed they were a gift from Kahu. He really wanted to tear those clothes to shreds, but he could only clench his fists. I tried to control my jealousy and possessiveness, smiling and asking how the teacher had been these past few days. Upon hearing that he was happy, Dylan then asked, Teacher, do you like Kahu? Liz, the Duke's whistle, knew he was testing me. If I said I liked Kahu, perhaps Dylan would give up on me. Yes, Your Majesty, I like him. Dylan smiled and said that's a good thing. But he was clearly holding his hand tighter. It was clearly autumn now, yet he felt the surroundings were as hot as summer. The Emperor prepared a ball for Liz and Kahu. Liz wore a white gauzy dress, holding hands with Hoka Lake. The man felt a little uneasy. He suggested getting some food first. He had just left when Dylan approached Liz. Teacher, I'm here to reclaim my first dance, the one that was stolen from me. Dylan was referring to the prince's investiture. At the ball, he had the first dance with Liz at Lake Hoka. Liz felt like she had fallen into a trap, but he still agreed to Dylan's invitation. The two in the dance floor became the main characters. Everyone joked that this was not dancing at all. It was simply art. Only Kahu was astonished at all of this. A few days ago, the tailor he had trusted for over a decade suddenly refused to make his tuxedo. And at this moment, the tuxedo His Majesty was wearing was exactly the same as the one he originally wanted to make. A crazy thought popped into his mind. He needs to verify. Ka waited until the two finished to find the Emperor. Your Majesty, if possible, I would like to marry Emperor Sure. After all, we've reached the age for marriage discussions. Dylan said. As long as the teacher has no objections, he can support it. However, the slightly raised hand revealed his true feelings. Sure enough, Your Majesty likes the Imperial tutor. Taking a closer look, he and Li Zi really do look alike. He uses a cold gaze to look down on everyone. Unexpectedly, the next second, he heard Dylan's warning. As a servant, it's inappropriate to casually test your master. Don't you think it's a foolish thing to do? I don't want there to be a next time. Kahu's thoughts were completely seen through. When Kahu visited Ronin's house to ask about Liz's preferences, Jia discovered he didn't know much about his sister. He seems to hate flowers. In his impression, his sister was always in her room. But Kahu remembered the happy expression on Liz's face when she smelled the flowers. Are they really surprised that this is all they remember about Liz? Are we truly Liz's family? A single word from a fool left the two brothers feeling ashamed and silent. Only then did they realize how truly ignorant they were about their sister. Jia Gu was drunk out of his mind. He found his wife. You nearly died in childbirth when you gave birth to our son. Are you in pain and afraid? Have you ever hated him? He desperately wanted to get the answers he desired from his wife. As if all he needed was for her to say it harshly. To prove himself. All these years he hadn't done it. But his wife gave him a hard slap instead. He held back his tears. I can't believe these are the words coming from my husband. For the sake of the child. He doesn't even care about his own life. You are already a father. Don't you understand? Yes, on the day Mother gave birth. She witnessed her mother sacrificing herself to ensure her sister's safety. If Mother had known that after she left, how heartbroken must the sister feel, being treated this way by her family. And outside the door, the father hears these words, and recalls the meaning behind his wife's choice of name for their daughter. In ancient texts, it represents happiness. But what has he done for his daughter? Now, Lizzie no longer needs this hypocritical concern. She is the esteemed master, second only to none. She is the genius who won the championship at the swordsmanship competition. She is the woman whom even the emperor admires. To fulfill her teacher's wish, to destroy the empire, Dylan plans to provoke a war soon. Liz didn't expect him to take action so quickly. After Dylan I ascended the throne, the economy and politics of the empire reached their peak. Even if war breaks out, those citizens will stand up and pledge their allegiance. But they don't know that only failure and death await them. Listening to the man's battle plan, this day has finally arrived. Lizzie couldn't hide her excitement as she praised him. You're truly excellent. The teacher's heartfelt praise ignited a fire in Dylan's heart. The man really couldn't hold himself back. He was eager to let the other person know his feelings. Teacher, I like the way you look at me. And he said such words. The teacher should understand my feelings. But Clarice still chose to play dumb. Your Majesty, so do I. He turned a man's confession into feelings unrelated to love. But this time, Dylan didn't want to just let it go. He took Liz to the back garden. Can I ask you a question, teacher? What exactly is Kyra? Liz didn't expect Dylan to mention Her Majesty Kyra. Do you know what happens when you ingest the shards of Elysium? The former emperor locked in the underground prison is a typical example. Ordinary people cannot bear it and die. Those who barely survive become sentient metal. That is Kyra. The man knows that the teacher is hiding something from him, but as long as he says it himself, he believes it. Teacher, I love you. It's not a student's love for a teacher. It's a man's desire to possess a woman's love. Dylan's bold and explicit confession carries a burning warmth, as if melting the entire winter. Liz did not respond to him. After returning to the room, she threw herself into the bathtub. Calm down, calm down. No matter what, he wouldn't give up his revenge. But she didn't expect the man to send a gift that afternoon. A portrait of him. She had seen this painting in her past life as Kayla. Only the subject of the painting was the 7th imperial consort. Anyone could see the painter's love for him. Liz instructed someone to hang the painting above the piano. Dylan then arrived for his piano lesson. He saw the letters on the table addressed to Liz from her suitors. The man's jealousy was unconcealed. He wanted to see who dared to express their love for a woman pursued by the emperor. The maid standing nearby was caught off guard by the sudden display of affection. He wanted everyone to know he liked this woman. During the lesson, the man also had lychees prepared for him, his favorite fruit. When he was a child, even if he liked it, he never got any. He hadn't eaten it since he grew up. How did Dylan know he liked this long-forgotten memory? It became warm because of Dylan. The bad memories about this fruit turned into something worth remembering. At this moment, Liz seemed to understand. It turns out he truly loves her deeply. The news that the emperor is openly pursuing the imperial teacher spread instantly. Although Tahu knew it was not surprising that the emperor fell in love with Liz. After all, he had known for a long time. But why did he still feel unhappy? So much so that he became distracted while practicing swordplay and let the sword slip. He wondered if he had also fallen for this woman. He found Liz. Yugong privately requested him not to get too close to the Majesty. It's too dangerous for you two to be together. Kahu is originally Liz's fiancée, reborn in this era with memories. He didn't expect to have Liz's heart taken away by others. Liz also understands that the man's confession is a pretentious formula, but she does not intend to listen to him, because only Dylan considers himself the most precious person, and only by his side can he be free of worries. Dylan prepared the ice crystal courtyard for Liz. He had someone use magic to preserve the ice crystal trees that never melt. The two walked on, arm in arm, to seek revenge. Liz was filled with caution towards love, even going so far as to use Dylan. But he didn't care. He even said it was all okay. At that moment, Liz's shoelace came undone. Dylan bent down and saw the emperor bowing low. He remembered. Only Dylan had respected him from the very beginning. He was also the first person in my life to affirm me. Liz unconsciously hooked the man's chin. She kissed him uncontrollably. The moment their lips touched, Dylan was stunned for a second. He quickly took the lead. His rebirth was for revenge, but Dylan was willing to stay with her. What harm is there in falling in love? The man knows that Liz is not so resolute. It's fine. He has the confidence to fill the gaps in her heart. He orders Liz to come to his chamber to watch the fireworks tomorrow night. Liz knows very well what this means. I'll be waiting for you. The night of the next day, Liz arrived as scheduled. At the moment the fireworks exploded, Dylan talked about his feelings when he first met Liz. It felt like fate. It was as if you were meant to be mine. Tonight, when you came to find me, it means you agreed. If you have regrets, I can stop at any time. Liz says she has no regrets. At this moment, they completely belong to each other. When Liz opens her eyes, Dylan has already woken up. He has been watching Liz for a long time. Dylan holds her hand tightly and gently kisses it. It was also the first time I called Liz's name. What is our relationship now? The court etiquette states that the emperor cannot have a lover. Women entering the harem must either be the empress or a concubine. But none of that has anything to do with lychee. We are lovers. The man who heard this was quite satisfied. He couldn't wait to make their relationship public. This way, no one would have designs on Liz. While the man was still intoxicated by love, Liz hadn't forgotten her original purpose of revenge. However, it wasn't too bad like this either. The love affair between the emperor and the imperial teacher was the talk of the capital. Most were blessings. But Keika, who started to feel despondent, it still turned out like this. If the emperor wanted Liz to be empress, he would have announced it long ago. Why call them lovers? Rights and laws are insignificant to them both. Laws and institutions cannot bind the emperor. If he's not a tyrant, what is he? And during a time of peace and prosperity, I heard Bentley is undergoing high-intensity training. Ta couldn't understand Liz's true intentions. Thinking of Liz, she instantly felt a pang of heartache. The two had confirmed their relationship, so even though he's still in training, they can be so engrossed in each other. The gentle and handsome little wolf dog. No one can resist Liz's impulsive kiss. Starting their shameless first date in their romantic life, they watched an opera performance together, had a delicious lunch, and like any ordinary couple, they strolled in the forest at sunset. Dylan has so many things he wants to do and memories to create with Liz. He even starts to feel anxious. He always feels that if he doesn't hurry, he'll never have the chance. Perhaps sensing Dylan's unease, Liz gently comforts him. I'm right here. I won't leave. At night, Lychee is still savoring today's date. It's both happy and novel. At this moment, he saw the patterned envelope next to the makeup mirror. He thought of the golden retriever. As long as he tears the envelope apart, the golden retriever will appear immediately. Does the magic tower have new information? As the envelope was torn open, the golden retriever appeared in the room. As soon as he saw Liz, he started digging like crazy. He hoped Liz would join their organization, but Liz was only concerned about what information the Golden Retriever could provide. The man had no choice. He had to get to the point. It turned out that the real mastermind behind Kyra was the Magic Tower. They want to forge a sword from those who consume the Ashulite fragments, to create a god with human hands. In this world, there are actually two gods. One is Ashulite. The other is the evil god. The evil god is essentially a collection of magic. Liz could hardly believe it. It turns out that the one the Magic Tower has been searching for is the only person who consumed the Ashulite fragment and fused with it. The joy and greed in those people's eyes. He never forgot it until his death. The Dark Tower was forging Kayla as a vessel to bring down the evil god. Liz raised her sword. Let the blonde continue. The blonde thinks that Kayla plan has never succeeded, and the Dark Tower's objective hasn't been achieved. Theoretically, the evil god descends upon Kyra, but in terms of magical structure, the dominance still belongs to the body's owner. The evil god will gradually be absorbed by the body's owner, eventually becoming the true evil god. Although your information is quite intriguing, I still won't join your organization. The Magic Tower still doesn't know about Liz. This future success story has been reborn. Liz fearfully realized he seemed to be that evil god. The next day, Liz searched through various books in the library, but found no information about the evil god. Red had delivered an intelligence card to figure out why only Kayla could be used to create the evil god. Liz tore open the card. The Golden Retriever appears again. The Golden Retriever has new information. It tells him that the evil god, out of jealousy, turned the main god, Aishirit, into countless fragments. The characteristic is that every few centuries, the purest and highest fragment is reborn in human form. Their trait is the manifestation of undeniable talent. Liz realizes that this is talking about Dylan. The Golden Retriever has been mistakenly thinking that Liz is actually the Ashulite fragment. After all, he proved his teaching ability and became a prince's tutor at the age of 13. He even managed to train the inconspicuous 13th prince into an emperor. That's why he earnestly requested him to join the organization. And the nature of the evil god is to have a murderous intent towards Ashulite. The Golden Retriever claims to be here to protect Ashulite. The real fragment is actually Liz. Unbeknownst to him, Liz is actually Kyra. Only Liz knows that if she becomes a malevolent god, she will ultimately kill Dylan. At night, a man whispers Liz's name in her ear, but Liz can't fall asleep no matter what. She has thought about it too. If she and Dylan destroy the empire together, would they be able to have true happiness? But now it seems, those things became elusive again. To prevent Dylan from dying, Liz had no choice but to abandon her. Even if she leaves, she can still live well. He found the Golden Retriever, and agreed to join the organization. They arranged a time to pick him up, because he has other matters to attend to. Liz went alone to the underground library. She burned all the books about the Kira project. 400 years ago, she was forged into the Demon Sword Fortress. She endured pain and was reborn. She raised Dylan to become an emperor. Those memories gradually faded away like the ashes in her hands. Liz suddenly remembered Karu. He still remembers things from before his rebirth. He must meet him in person. Tahu doesn't understand why Liz is looking for him. Unexpectedly, he asks if he remembers anything about his rebirth. Tahu nods, indicating that he only remembers searching for him for a long time. After that, he doesn't remember anything. Liz thinks he shouldn't be lying. Fortunately, up until now, he still doesn't know that he is Kyra. On the way back, the beautiful sky made him really want to see Dylan. Under the sunset, he walked with Dylan. If nothing unexpected happens, this will be their last meeting. Dylan has to deal with official matters. Though reluctant, they will see each other again tomorrow. Dylan left with a smile, completely unaware of Liz's reluctance. That night, Liz appeared in a black robe at the underground prison, pushed open the cell door. Inside was Ferdinand III, now a prisoner. He was still mumbling curses to himself, clearly out of his mind, but he recognized Liz at a glance. Do you also know how to forge him into the Demon Sword Tower? Ask Liz how he still maintains a human form. Haven't I already forged you into a sword? It seems that after the last emperor was fed the Ashulite fragments, his memory is also incomplete. Liz doesn't want to keep wasting time with him. Listen, Itrasai, your empire has already fallen. The great fire spreads across the land. All your countless subjects of the empire have turned to ashes. I'm glad you have regained your memories. As the man cries out in despair, Liz cannot help but seize him. With one sword, he resolved the person who once dragged him into the abyss. Liz finally avenged the hatred of 400 years. He set fire to everything here. It should have been done a long time ago. Standing in the blazing fire, Liz's mind was filled with Dylan. His bloody revenge had nothing to do with Dylan. It was his own distortion. The once upright him should leave here now. Spring is coming. I just hope Dylan can live well. At midnight, the Golden Retriever and their organization arrived as scheduled. Liz looked back one last time at the palace. All along, I wanted to tame Dylan and get revenge for myself. But recalling the sweet past, the mage who was tamed, myself, Liz completely disappeared into the magic circle. An attendant reported a fire to the Emperor. The Imperial Master is also gone. The guards and prisoners are unharmed. Only Fady is dead. Dylan looked at the dagger on the ground. He remembered it was Liz's. He killed her with his own hands, the one who cast a shadow over him. The impact was significant. Let him leave for a while to calm down. He will be back soon. With the arrival of spring, Dylan won the battle, and returned triumphantly. He thought the teacher should be back, to celebrate with him, but when he opened the door, what awaited him was a sense of desolation. It's okay, he should be back in the summer. Instruct the maid to prepare the summer outfit. Before long, it was autumn, and then winter. Dylan had the maid throw away all the out-of-season outfits. Prepare the winter outfits. It will be very cold when the teacher returns. So Dylan waited 3 seasons. He finally understood he'd been abandoned. The promises of never leaving, of always being there, were all jokes. The 3rd year of Dylan's reign, the boy had grown up. Unknowingly, he had become a tyrant. Now he must mobilize all manpower and resources to find that woman. As long as it's what you want, he will achieve his goals by any means necessary. Teacher, you taught me that back then, so I have to bring you back. Charisse, your freedom has come to an end. And the Charisse who left 3 years ago, with overwhelming strength. He has already become the leader of the organization. When Charlize first joined, many people were not convinced by him. But one day, he defeated all the knights in the organization with his strength. From then on, everyone supported him unconditionally. It has been proven that Charlize indeed has the qualification. Under his leadership, the branches of the Dark Tower were eradicated. He became the Death Knight most feared by the Dark Tower's personnel. Unfortunately, he always let the main branch escape. Unknowingly, 3 years have passed. Because he focused all his attention on pursuing the Dark Tower, he rarely thought of Dylan. And the man didn't send anyone to follow or monitor him. Perhaps Dylan has already forgotten him. Isn't this the result he wanted? While Zayli Z was still pondering, the door was pushed open. Urgent report. Dylan I is preparing to use the money from Wang Shibua's treasury. As for the research on the Magic Tower, Dylan heard that name again after 3 years. Charlize didn't expect him to be connected to the Dark Tower. He didn't understand. The royal family never interfered in the conflicts between the Dark Tower and the organization. Why this sudden intervention now? If this continues, the tragedy of Kayla's plan will repeat itself. Once the Dark Tower receives the royal family support, it will return. The epic Kyra project. The higher-ups of the Magic Tower will definitely show up. Charlize plans to take advantage of this excellent opportunity to eliminate the Magic Tower. The risks are high, but it's worth a try. At this moment, in the underground library, Dylan doesn't understand why the teacher only looked at the Achillotree technology. He felt anger about everything related to Kyra. He also felt a desire for revenge, as if Kyra's plan had already succeeded. He only burned the materials related to Kyra. After thinking it over, he decided to let it go. None of this was relevant to him. Nothing mattered anymore. The teacher's departure had driven him mad. Now he just wants to find Charlize. Everything is ready. He must be caught, no matter what. He led everyone in the organization to their destination, only to discover it was a trap. The royal knights appeared there, not to protect the Magic Tower or the Emperor. When Charlize was surrounded by the knights, it was only then that I realized Dylan's initial target was him. He calculated that Liz wouldn't take action against a former subordinate. He could only surrender. One by one, the people in the organization fell. At this moment, Dylan appeared. You really haven't changed at all. Zaylee's Roman Dylan pinched his chin. To completely possess you. I'm here to find you. The former lover has reappeared. Zaylee's feels so unfamiliar. The Dylan in front of him feels strange and frightening. The past gentleness and chivalry have faded away. His eyes are filled with coldness and resentment. His actions are no longer gentle. The man keeps asking why he left him. Zaylee's doesn't answer. Well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I've got you now. From now on, you must stay by my side. The members of the organization are all in my hands. Delrian, Klaus, Wendy, and the blonde. If you want to, you can kill everyone and run away. It just depends on whether you can bear to part with these precious friends. Liz has never regarded the team members as friends. But after 3 years of life and death together, he even remembers their names. He can't let them die because of him. Seeing that Liz didn't say anything, Dylan embraced him. I decided, and I won't give you a chance to change your mind. Only then did Liz realize that the boy who once adhered to his principles was gone. Your Majesty, you've changed. Of course, you never came back. How long do you think I should have remained the same? Should I have remained unchanged until I die? It's you who made me this way, isn't it? Jilly clamped her lips shut, speechless. Yes, it was I who molded him into a tyrant. Who else could I blame? But how could a genuine fragment of Oshric's soul emit such a dark aura? Dylan ordered everyone in the organization to be locked up, although I didn't kill him immediately. You shouldn't feel relieved, teacher. Who knows what I might do? I'm sure you understand, teacher. The panicked man, Charlize. But Dylan didn't want to hear what he had to say. Teacher, how I will deal with them. It all depends on what you do next. From now on, stay by my side. Your eyes. Dylan arranged for Liz to stay at a nearby hotel, and assigned knights to guard her closely. He needed to go out and check the current situation, but was stopped by the knights. His Majesty has decreed. You cannot act recklessly. Charlize was about to barge in, but Dylan pushed open the door instead. Liz quickly asked where her companion was being held, only to see a smirk on Dylan's face. How could you leave me hanging? And go worry about someone else. Dylan gently caressed the wound on his face with his fingertips. Liz truly realized at that moment that the Dylan she once loved had completely changed. For now, she could only try to go along with his thoughts, and not provoke him. Dylan slowly leaned closer to Liz, and ordered her not to talk to other men, not to look at other men. You can only watch me, care about me alone. Dylan now is suffocating. In the carriage back to the palace, Dylan reaches out to pull Liz over. Actually, he could refuse, but to avoid angering the man, choose to cooperate and walk up. She also said she would miss him after these 3 years, but the man no longer believed it. He pulled her over forcefully, disregarding her wishes, and kissed her aggressively. Charlize was not willing to back down. She immediately bit him, causing tomato juice to spill. Teacher, your way of kissing is really special, but I like it. Your Majesty, please let me go. The empire has developed rapidly in these 3 years. A peaceful and prosperous era has been achieved. But what's strange is that everyone's face in the palace is filled with fear. Just entering the palace, the maids rushed over. My former personal maids were teary-eyed. Master Imperial Preceptor, I'm so glad you're back. The maids led Charlize to the Empress's palace. She still holds the title of Imperial Preceptor. How can she live in the Empress's palace? It's so exaggerated. Dylan sits here every night, waiting for Charlize to return. Ultimately, it's himself who made her go so crazy. Liz noticed that the red jewelry box contained sapphire earrings. Only then did she realize that all the jewelry in the room were things he once cherished. There were even small items he didn't care much about. Everything was preserved perfectly. Dylan was probably choosing his favorite things, while waiting for him to return. And so he waited for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Liz could feel Dylan's suffocating possessiveness and extreme love-hate. Love is truly powerful. It can drive rational people to madness. Yet Dylan remained unwavering. Zaylee's mood became very heavy, because he didn't want Dylan to get hurt. Fate destined them to never be together forever. Meanwhile, Kaho was also troubled on the other side. It turned out that he had also missed Liz for the past 3 years. If he had known earlier that it was his last conversation with Liz, he should have kept her then. For these years, his family has been anxious about his marriage. Koka, who feels that being in a committed relationship and then being with another woman is an extremely irresponsible act. After Charlize left, the empire began to develop in the direction he feared. The people's competitiveness and patriotism were incited, causing them to rush to become soldiers. Wars at home and abroad continue, leading to unrest on the continent. Your Majesty has not yet given up on the last bit of reason. That is even more frightening. If the birds the young Duke raised fly away for freedom, should we blame the unbroken wings or blame the maker of the cage? When Your Majesty asked him that, Kaho felt that Dylan's invisible nerves were about to snap. At that moment, Dylan arrived alone at the place where Jean Mao was held. Upon seeing the newcomer, the golden retriever immediately asked how Charlize was doing. Only you can call the teacher by their name. You have quite the courage. Are you really indifferent to the lives of the other members of the organization? The golden retriever had countless rebuttals in his mind. After all, his life was literally in their hands. He had no choice but to lower his head and acknowledge Charlize. Oh no, it's just a superior subordinate relationship with the leader. Dylan couldn't be bothered to pursue it further. He asked why Charlie was allowed to join the organization. The blonde wasn't planning to tell the truth. He only said that he valued Liz's strength. She would be helpful to the organization. Unexpectedly, Dylan saw right through him. Isn't it because my dear teacher was once a test subject of the Kyra project? The reason is that there are also failures of the Kyra program within the organization. Goldie was shocked. The Emperor had actually traced this back. But what does he mean by that? Records show that Charlize has hardly ever left the Roman family since she was little. If we go by what the Emperor said, Charlize must have reached her current level. We have to feed him fragments from infancy. If he'd undergone experiments before, he definitely wouldn't have survived until now. Dylan thought he wasn't telling the truth. Raising his hand to have someone get the documents, the blue notebook was thrown in front of the blonde man. It was Kayla's plan. The three characters, Lydia, on it stunned the blonde man. Your sister, Lydia, was the first test subject. I heard she didn't make it. She died horribly. What if I told you I have her remains and her killer? What would you do? This is nothing like the Emperor Charlize usually describes. If the magic sword, Kayla, really exists, it must be like him. While Liz was still thinking about how to get out, she ran into someone familiar. It was her father, Duke Ronan. Such an encounter was really unnecessary. Long time no see. Master Emperor. Liz didn't want to pay him any attention, and tried to leave by bypassing her father. But he called out to me, Master Imperial Perception. I want to help you. Liz never expected that her once cold father would now be so polite to her. He was seen kneeling with his head bowed, saying, as long as it's for you, I'm willing to do anything. Charlize sighed, glancing at him coldly. Why are you only saying you want to help me now? Looking at her father kneeling in front of her, Charlize felt no emotion at all. He said he would help her, but he couldn't help at all. However, since there was an extra piece on the board, she naturally had to use it wisely. Afterward, Liz found other members of the group. The golden retriever immediately reported that the Emperor was going crazy. I'm about to be driven mad myself. What exactly did you do to the Emperor? Liz coldly replied, that's not something you should be concerned about. After a simple dinner, Liz stated that the Ronan family would help us. It's obvious to anyone. Letting Liz meet Duke Ronan, meeting with the team members, is the Emperor's test. But an opportunity is still an opportunity. Even if it's small, it must be seized. The plan is to escape in 3 days. Liz wrote a letter intending to send it to Ronan's house, but the golden retriever thinks using magic to send a message will get them caught. Liz dismissed it, summoning a sprite, saying he needed the sprite to deliver a letter. The blonde-haired man couldn't believe it. How did he summon them? Liz asked him, can you see the sprites too? To you, are they sprites? They aren't as kind as sprites. In ancient times, they served the lower god Aishalet. When Zalis asked the elf if they served him because he was the god of music, the elves only said they had safely delivered 2 letters. Realizing they were avoiding the question again, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head. Scenes flooded into his mind all at once, unlocking the sealed memories as he opened his eyes again. A group of wizards kneels before him. They call him the god Karali. Everyone cheers for the success of the experiment. They are about to raise a toast to celebrate. Only Liz's soul is trapped in the demon realm without any dignity. It would be better for him to die. He is a talent, not a worthless being. At that moment, a fairy appeared. Worship the divine spirit, Lord Hyla. It's finally complete. Liz has completely collapsed. He angrily said that he is not a god. No one has the right to define who he is. The memory ends here. There are still many memories yet to be retrieved. If all the fragments of memory are pieced together, wouldn't he become a true evil god? For Dylan's safety, we can't recover any more memories. The escape plan needs to be prioritized. Charisse instructed the sprite to cover her departure from the Queen's palace. She put on a cloak of night and entered the monster forest. It seems this place hasn't been controlled by the enemy yet. Liz needs to find a group led by Rafi who tames magical beasts. The magical beasts they tame move at incredible speeds. This time, we must rely on their power to escape. But the man raised his spear in threat as soon as he saw her. He asked Liz if it was true, as mentioned in the letter, that she really knows what the divine artifact is. Little did he know, he was quickly pinned down by Zalis. Please get it straight. Who is asking whom for a favor? The white-haired one didn't even realize when he got close. He realized it. The white-haired one apologized for his actions, with the honor of Lafine as a pledge. Obtaining the divine artifact will satisfy any condition from Liz. Very well, I will remember your vow. At this moment, when the guard told him that Cherise had been in the Queen's palace all along, Dylan does not believe it. He is too insecure. He must personally confirm that the teacher is still there. He nervously opens the door. What comes into view is the apology under the curtain. Dylan pulls back the curtain. Cherise is sitting by the bed, her charming smile at him. What's wrong, Your Majesty? A man can tell. Charlize seems like she's just rushed back. She just wanted to see you. Worried that you weren't here. Liz reached out to caress his face, to tell him she was right here. I won't leave. In this moment, the man already knows Liz is lying, because he carries a strange, almost natural fragrance, as if he just came back from outside. He still wants to run away. What is the reason that makes him run again and again? Is it that he hasn't done well enough himself? Dylan felt he needed to find a way to make Charlize willingly, and gladly stay by his side. He knew very well that even if he had Charlize, he wouldn't have her heart. Even so, he didn't want to give up. Charlize's hand gently caressed Dylan's chest. At this moment, nothing else mattered. At least for this moment, he can completely possess this. Meanwhile, Dylan felt he needed to see him. At this time, Ronan's father, Zadie, had already received Zerai's letter. Since Zadie promised he could do anything for him, then let's raise an army and rebel. But Liz didn't think they would do it. So all he needs to do is divert outside attention. Even Zaji can see that. The words in this letter reveal trust. Jadad decides to satisfy all of his daughter's requests, even knowing what the consequences of rebellion would be. Yi-san agrees to help Liz with the escape incident. They understand clearly. This time, Charlize escaping from the palace means they will never meet again. At this moment, Charlize is dressed in night clothes. With a swift strike, he dealt with the 2 guards, 2 magicians from the organization. He signaled his team members not to freeze. Go quickly. It's time to leave. Meanwhile, Dylan summoned Kaho. Kaho didn't understand why His Majesty had summoned him. Since Charlize's return, he had been living cautiously, although he also wanted to see Charlize again. But I didn't dare to try, because he loves the Emperor's woman. So every time we meet, there's a certain physical story involved. Dylan didn't beat around the bush. He got straight to the point and asked Kahu, why did you run away before? When I was still the 13th prince. You are filled with suspicion towards me. It's as if what you see before you is different from the future you know. So in the future you have experienced. Who is the crown prince? Kahu lost his focus. I didn't expect he really knew. Dylan asked again. What is the connection between Heritz and the magic sword Kyra? Since you have seen it with your own eyes, you must know. Just think about what kind of person could master military skills at the age of 15, and also be proficient in various disciplines, while Cav is always able to perfectly handle all kinds of functions. They all experienced time reversal. Tahu was about to say something. Suddenly, someone outside shouted that the Ronan family was rebelling, and Dylan knew that the Ronan family's rebellion made him understand Liz's determination to leave. Dylan mounted his warhorse and charged into the rebels. He had taken the throne to win Liz's heart, so why would he care about the rebellion? This time, I swear I won't let him go. Meanwhile, Charlize is meeting up with Rafani. As long as he reaches the border, his plan will succeed. As for the Ronan family, they're just pawns to him. Expendable after use. The plan's success surprised him. It was as if Dylan intentionally let him go. The sound of the wind rushes by my ears. At this moment, the golden retriever noticed someone was chasing from behind. Charlize turned to look. That familiar figure was getting closer. It was Dylan who had caught up. Everyone saw he was outnumbered. They chose to move forward. They had already crossed the border. Just as I was about to use the magic portal to leave, Dylan stopped Zalis. He asked how he could just leave him behind. At that moment, Liz didn't even have the courage to look back at him. Your Majesty, please go back. Just talk to me honestly. It won't take up too much of your time. The reason you keep abandoning me, is it because your true identity is the leader of the Dark Sword Kara team? A single sentence shocked everyone. The leader, whose purpose was to destroy the evil god, was the evil god himself. Lately, he'd been pondering something. Why did Charlize insist on leaving? After repeated deductions, he found the answer. Liz and Kahu come from the same future. It's a future that is completely different from the present. And in that future, he is not only not the emperor, he hasn't even become the crown prince. And everything in the present is a scheme devised by Charlize. You hate the royal family. To destroy everything. What reason is there to live like this? You clearly haven't lived this long. Then one cannot infer what the original future was. In Gaelai's brief life, he was affected by the royal family and the magic tower. All the royals were avenged. Only Dylan was spared. He never expected to fall in love with this boy. But why does Charlize have to leave? Dylan vaguely knows it might be because of danger. Charlize, it doesn't matter if you kill me. I don't care if you're a demon. I don't care if you will destroy me. Regardless, I love you. At this moment, Dylan's love. Let Liz, who has endured the trials of 400 years, deeply feel that she is still human. Dylan reaches out and tells Liz, you are my everything. If you want to take everything from me, then take my life. Charlize does not understand why the love he speaks of is so noble. How could he love himself so much? This unconditional warmth is a sense of security that cannot be betrayed. My originally rational self was completely defeated by him. Looking at the boy in front of me, his face already filled with tears. Liz asked him if he didn't know from the beginning that he was getting close to her just for revenge. Was it worth it? But he was willing to be used. He pleaded with Liz to continue using him. I would, and you also said you never taught me what love is. But because of you, I am able to exist. Please, Zalize. Because you are the evil god Kana. Are you afraid that I will die? Zalize did not deny it. But no matter who you are still the one I love. I will not die. I will find a way. I will no longer try to possess. I will still strongly support, helping you destroy the demon tower. After saying that, he rolled up his sleeves. In front of Charlize, he revealed the pact mark bound by magic on his arm. And the price is Dylan's life. Betting his life. I guarantee I won't harm Liz and his organization. Even the royal knights only work for Zeretz. Is that the effect? Still no use. Until he completely surrenders. If the oath cannot be kept, your highness will only have death. For this kind of, for love. He's a man who doesn't even value his own life. I really couldn't bear to refuse him any longer. Seeing this, Dylan understood that Charlize had agreed to stay, but he also stated that he would leave after they destroyed the Dark Tower. Watching his back, she murmured her thanks, but her expression subtly changed. It was all his plan. Dylan didn't know how to suppress his possessiveness towards Charlize, but if he would soften because of his own humble attitude, then of course, this method should be used to keep him. The teacher will always belong only to him.